welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And this episode is another Duel episode. We will be pitting Robin, specifically Damian Wayne, against Patriot.
Yeah, specifically Eli Bradley.
Oh, has there been more than one Patriot?
Yeah, there have been 3 in total, but I'll get into it when we get into the characters' histories.
Cool. Legacy characters with their own legacy. Good match, good match. We're doing this matchup in lead up to the Justice League Dark Apocalypse War animated film that I believe is already out on digital. We're reviewing that for our next episode, and Robin plays a pretty heavy role in that.
Right, and this episode is also a nice tie-in to our previous Duel matchup where we pit Ra's al Ghul versus Red Skull.
Because Ra's al Ghul is Damian Wayne's, aka Robin's, grandfather. So we'll get into the backstory of those characters later on in the episode. Before that, we're going to break down the comic book movie news items from the past week, which includes Geoff Johns producing a Green Lantern Corps live-action series for HBO Max, and our first look at the Superman Man of Tomorrow animated film.
As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so go ahead and check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic.
As always, don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on whatever platform you happen to be listening to us on.
Hopefully, if you're listening to us on a platform like Stitcher or Castbox or Podbean, you're able to leave us a review as well. Just spreading the word of the show helps us build our audience and brings you 7 years good luck, of course. But with that out of the way,
quick to the No Prize.
Now, a No Prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that Jonathan draws for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was, come up with a better title for the upcoming Venom sequel, which, of course, as we discussed last week, is going to be called Venom Let There Be Carnage. Now, we got a ton of great answers, both serious and amusing, for this particular question, since I think obviously the best answer would probably be either Maximum Carnage or Absolute Carnage, and there was no better serious answer than that. I actually went with a funny answer for this week's No Prize winner, but let's go ahead and run down the full list of honorable mentions.
Our first honorable mention goes to JP Lunai, Adam Spees, and Joshua Smith for their answer of Venom Maximum Carnage. Again, that's probably the only truly acceptable answer.
Or Absolute Carnage, since that was also another run from the comics.
Right.
So good on you for giving the correct answer, but not our favorite one. Honorable mention goes to Jacob Bell for his answer of Venom Carnage Awakens.
Kind of like the Force.
Yeah, which also awakens in the films.
Baidir Bangura gave the answer of Venom 2, The Sins of the Father.
Right, and that's in reference to the fact that Venom is actually Carnage's father, because the symbiotes reproduce asexually, and Carnage is the offspring. And speaking of that, honorable mention goes to Billy Hamed for his answer of Venom Offspring. And for that particular film, I would really hope that the band Offspring would provide the soundtrack.
That would be great. I love that band.
Yep.
Michael Haggerty gets honorable mention for his answer of Venom 2, Red is the New Black. Which I thought was a great answer.
That was a fantastic answer. That one made me laugh out loud. I really like that one. Good job. Caleb Albers gets honorable mention for his answer of, and this is another funny one, Venom v Carnage. Bet we can do better than DC.
I actually didn't think that one was that funny.
Yeah.
Of all of the answers, I thought that one was the absolute worst. The maximum worst.
I can almost guarantee you, though, that a Venom sequel will make more money than Batman v Superman. So he's not wrong.
Have you seen the Ultimate Edition? Have you seen the Ultimate Edition? It's a good movie. Whatever. Moving on. Miggy Madangian gets honorable mention for his answer of Venom and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Carnage.
That was a good one.
It's too long.
Yeah, probably just too long. Ken Johnson gets honorable mention for his answer of Venom 2. Look, we all know you're going to come see this movie, so we gave up on a clever marketing scheme.
Also too long.
Yeah, that one's probably definitely too long.
Aaron Alexander Jones gave the answer of Venom 2, When Venom Met Carnage. And I think that one was my favorite answer, personally. That one made me LOL, for sure.
As long as it has a scene where Venom and Carnage are having lunch in a diner and then Carnage fakes an orgasm.
Yes. Just writhing, reproducing asexually.
Harrison Fox gets honorable mention for his answer of Venom 2, Red, White, and Black. And that's actually not a bad answer. I like it about as much as the actual movie title.
Mike Luther gave the answer of Venom 2, there will be very bad wigs. And I think that's a reference to Woody Harrelson's wig at the end of the first Venom movie, that stinger after the credits.
Yeah, but as we've seen from the set photos of Venom 2, we know that Woody Harrelson is not actually going to be wearing that same wig. So that's nice, because it was a really bad wig. Salvador Martinez gets honorable mention for his answer of symbio warfare, which actually I thought had a really nice ring to it. Symbio warfare. It kind of sounds like a video game, huh?
It's like WarioWare. Symbio WarioWare. Colby Hinches gave the answer of Venom 2, there will be Spider-Man.
And oh my god, how great of a tease would that be? Like, that answer would probably put more butts in seats than any of these other answers, I think. Just the reference to Spider-Man. Joel Seagrave gave the answer of Too Much Too Venom. Just like Too Fast, Too Furious.
Because there's two of them. Dustin Belcom gave the answer of Venom vs. Carnage, Fall of Justice.
And it'll be an okay movie until we get the director's cut, and it's called Venom vs. Carnage, Fall of Justice Ultimate Edition.
That's right, yes. Then it'll be really, really good. And everyone should see it.
Our final honorable mention goes to @LilSweet1127, who gave the answer of Venom Lethal Protector. And that was a damn good answer. That was one of the best of the serious answers, because Lethal Protector, of course, was a series starring Venom where he was an anti-hero living in the sewers of San Francisco. Great answer there. But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to Sir Patrick Hindsight, who gave the joke answer of Venom con carne, which, of course, is a play on the phrase chili con carne. But there is a deeper meaning to this particular answer, because the word con, which is with in Spanish, is also spelled the same way as con, which is short for convict, which is what Cletus Cassidy is. See, it's so deep. And then carne sounds like carnage, but it also means meat in Spanish. And I don't know where I'm going with this.
I think the word carne and the word carnage both have like the same Latin root.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Venom con carne. I love it. I really hope that's the title that they go with. So congrats to Sir Patrick Hindsight for making us both laugh and for giving such a great answer. And so you win this week's No Prize. And if you, the listener, want to win your own No Prize, go ahead and stay tuned to later on this episode when we ask another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news. So we've known for a while now that Greg Berlanti and his production company are working on a Green Lantern project for HBO Max, but it was recently revealed over this weekend on the Mad Goats Productions website, which is run by Geoff Johns, that Geoff Johns will be producing that Green Lantern project as a live-action TV series for the platform, which is amazing. We weren't sure if it was going to be a movie. It's going to be a live-action TV series. And that's insane, because Geoff Johns is one of the best writers of the Green Lantern comic that has ever existed.
Right, because he worked on both the Brightest Day and Blackest Night story arcs in the comics.
Right, story arcs that really expanded the mythos of the Green Lantern Corps, creating 7 different energy cores with different colors. Now, Geoff Johns hasn't been in the limelight for a while. He finished up Doomsday Clock, and he's been working on the Stargirl television series, which didn't look that great at first, but early advance reviews are saying it's phenomenal. They're saying it's like one of the best DC shows that have ever come out.
Well, it has a great cast, so that's no surprise. I really do like Geoff Johns' work. Now, he notoriously got fired from DC because he was the head of DC Films, but a lot of the blame for what happened with Justice League actually was placed on him. It was his vision to kind of steer the DC universe in more of a Marvel-style tone.
Right.
And fight against the vision that Zack Snyder had established with the DCEU. That being said, I think I fall more into his camp than I do Zack Snyder's, and I'm really looking forward to what he'll be doing with the Green Lantern Corps series. Because in that regard, I think it'll be more true to the character and less, dark and muted.
No, yeah, it should definitely be bright and colorful, like literally. Now, on the website, there's a synopsis for the project that lists Hal Jordan and John Stewart, but Geoff Johns is pretty famous for creating 2 pretty popular Green Lanterns fairly recently, in Simon Baz and the probably even more popular Jessica Cruz. So with him on board, who knows who the lead of the show will be? And that brings us to our question of the week. Which Green Lantern do you want to be the lead of the new Green Lantern Corps series, and who would you cast?
Yeah, I mean, we have Hal Jordan, there's John Stewart, there's Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, not to mention all the alien Green Lanterns. Oh, and Alan Scott. Yeah, there's a ton.
Yeah.
So we want to know which of those would you prefer to see as the lead in a film and which actor you think would portray them the best.
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. In other news, Entertainment Weekly gave us our first still of the upcoming animated film Superman Man of Tomorrow, which is supposed to come out sometime this summer. We're not sure when. They haven't given us an official release date yet. But the animation style, is very different from what we're used to seeing in the DC animated movie universe, which of course comes to a conclusion with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Yeah, the DC animated movie universe was heavily inspired by Bruce Timm's style of artwork, where, it's very angular.
There's also some anime influence on the existing universe right now. But yeah, this new one looks very clean. It looks almost classically inspired and almost like it's done in Flash because I think it's vector based.
Well, it certainly has those black outlines that make you think it's vector based, although we don't know if that's the case yet.
I mean, other DC animated series like Teen Titans Go and DC Superhero Girls, those are vector-based. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking that same route with this upcoming animated film universe, because this film is supposed to be the start of a new ongoing universe.
Well, I mean, Flash-based animation is certainly an easier way to produce animated work over hand-drawn cells, but I always consider myself more of a traditionalist in that I very much prefer the hand-drawn cell look.
And that approach to animation is dying off pretty quickly, so I'm not surprised that they would switch to Flash if that's in fact what this is, and I'm pretty sure it is.
The movement can be a little bit robotic at times, but I think that they're actually able to do more with the models themselves, because sometimes you're limited with hand-drawn animation by the production budget and the style of action that you can show.
Yeah, because each line that is drawn costs money. So if you take a vector-based approach, you might have more grand action sequences because they're cheaper to produce.
Right.
As long as it's a 3D animation approach and none of this Archer bullshit. Because I'm not going to lie, Superman's look does kind of remind me of Archer. Maybe it's the haircut. Hopefully they zhuzh that up a little bit. I doubt it.
Hopefully they what?
Zhuzh it up, zhuzh.
No, I don't know what you're saying.
I don't either.
Well, we'll see how the animation turns out when the film comes out this upcoming summer. But in addition to this frame from the movie, we also got to look at the film's cast, which I assume is going to be the cast for the duration of this particular series of animated DC films.
Possibly. Superman is going to be voiced by Darren Criss, who's from Glee, which I never saw. I'm not familiar with his work at all. But Lex Luthor is going to be voiced by Zachary Quinto, who I am familiar with. He's, of course, from Star Trek and Heroes.
That's great casting right there.
Yeah. And Alexandra Daddario will be voicing Lois Lane, which is awesome. She, of course, is from the famous scene from True Detective. You know which one I'm talking about.
I mean, she was also in Baywatch and San Andreas.
Yeah. Characters such as Lobo, Parasite, and Martian Manhunter will also be in the film, voiced by Brett Dalton, Ryan Hurst, and Ike Amandi. I'm not going to lie, I will be missing the old voice cast. I thought Rebecca Romijn made an excellent Lois Lane, and Jerry O'Connell did a terrific Superman. But the trailers do look like both of those characters will be served justice in this final film of Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
I have to say, I'm really grateful for these DC animated films that are coming out because they're really saving this podcast in terms of new content to review. Due to the coronavirus pushing all of the live-action theatrical releases back, at least we're still getting Justice League Apocalypse War this week and this upcoming Superman later on this summer.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun to review new content that we've never seen before.
But I think that does it for this week's news. Let's go ahead and get into the main event of this episode, where we find out who would win in a fight between Batman's sidekick Robin and Captain America's protege, Patriot.
Okay, Robin versus Patriot. Again, these specific versions of the characters are Damian Wayne and Eli Bradley. One is a sidekick to Batman, and one isn't necessarily a sidekick, but he's definitely a legacy character for Captain America.
Correct. Yeah, traditionally the sidekick of Captain America is Bucky. And Patriot has always been more of a tangential character, and that's still the case. Actually, currently in the comics right now, Patriot is the current sidekick to Falcon, Sam Wilson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But, he's tight with that whole group right there.
And both characters are like teenage martial artists, essentially, who use weapons. So it's a pretty good matchup, we think.
Yeah, we'll see just how good later on when we run simulations on the stats of these characters.
Right, so if you've never listened to our podcast before, the way we determine a winner of a matchup is through stat-based simulations. Specifically, we use a probabilistic model known as a Monte Carlo simulation.
Right, and what that model does is it takes the character stats and randomizes them along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve. So basically, it treats the prime stat number as an average, and then the randomization represents all the variables that take place in battle.
Now, we do this 1,000 times, which results in a percentage of wins. Whoever has the higher percentage, we declare the winner.
Right, it's a nice scientific, objective approach to the question of who would win, which Jonathan and I both need because we're both very subjective for our own Marvel and DC camps. We could argue endlessly about this debate, so we let the numbers figure it out for us.
Right, and of course, this is the same approach that the old Spike television series Deadliest Warrior used to take, and it's a model used by various video game AI and business risk analysis. A Monte Carlo simulation is known for its accuracy in regards to determining outcomes with complex data.
Right, and of course, we get the data from the Marvel official power rankings grid, and we extrapolate the DC stats from that criteria,
including a few more statistics to make a more robust simulation.
So it's just stats and math. It's not a popularity contest, so we don't determine like fan votes or anything that could be considered uncharacteristic for the character. So before we run these simulations, though, Jonathan and I like to get into the histories and abilities of each character, and then we like to improvise a speculative scenario in how we picture one of the 1,000 matches actually playing out beat for beat.
I think this time you go first with Patriot's backstory.
Okay, but Elijah Bradley's story first begins with the story of his grandfather, Isaiah Bradley, going back to World War II. At the time of the Pearl Harbor attack in 1941, Isaiah was living in New York City with his wife, Faith, who was pregnant with their daughter, Sarah. He enlisted in the Army and was assigned to an all-black unit at Camp Cathcart in Mississippi. In a top-secret experiment called Project Rebirth, Dr. Abraham Erskine worked with the U.S. military to inject Steve Rogers with his super soldier serum, transforming the frail Rogers into Captain America, a story you can hear more about in our Commander Steel vs. Captain America episode. Immediately after the experiment's success, Dr. Erskine was shot and killed by a Nazi spy, and the formula to his serum was lost forever. However, this didn't stop the US military from trying to create more super soldiers with less refined, more experimental serums. They forcibly recruited 300 African American soldiers from Camp Cathcart to serve as test subjects for their new experiments, expecting many to not survive and sending false letters to their families notifying them of the soldiers' deaths in battle.
Wow.
Out of the 300 subjects, only 7 men survived the experimentation, including Isaiah. The 7 soldiers were sent on a suicide mission to destroy German super soldier experiments and liberate a Nazi death camp. Of the 7 soldiers, only Isaiah survived. On the last leg of his mission, he stole a spare Captain America uniform meant for Steve Rogers, along with one of his spare unpainted shields, and single-handedly completed the assignment. He was sent back to the US and was immediately court-martialed for stealing the uniform. He was imprisoned in solitary confinement for 17 years, where the unrefined super soldier serum and sustained isolation deteriorated Isaiah's mind, making him mute and only occasionally able to perform non-rudimentary tasks. However, his wife Faith eventually learned of Isaiah's survival and wrote President Eisenhower a letter every month for 3 years, before Kennedy finally granted Isaiah a full pardon and had him sworn to keep the Camp Cathcart experiments a secret. Despite the concealment, the legend of Isaiah Bradley, the Black Captain America, spread among the African American community, and he became a revered figure to Black activists and Black superheroes from the Civil Rights Movement to the present. Eventually, Steve Rogers learned of Isaiah's heroism and oppression, formally apologized to him and his family, and presented Isaiah with his old Captain America uniform. Elijah Bradley, Eli for short, was Isaiah's grandson. Now, in Avengers history, in a tragedy you can learn more about in our Justice League vs. Avengers episode, the Avengers disbanded due to an emotional breakdown by the Scarlet Witch caused by Dr. Doom's manipulations. At the time, a time-traveling villain known as Kang the Conqueror traveled back in time as a teenager in order to stop his older, evil self. He hoped to enlist the Avengers' help, but instead happened upon the Vision's failsafe plan to form a new Avengers team should the old one be destroyed. Modeling himself after Iron Man and redubbing himself Iron Lad, Kang recruited the son of Vision and Scarlet Witch called Wiccan, who modeled himself after Thor. Also recruited were the green-skinned son of the Kree hero Mar-Vell, called Hulkling, and Eli, who lied and told Iron Lad that he inherited his grandfather's super soldier effects, even though his mom Sarah was born before the Camp Cathcart experiments. Also joining the team were the daughter of Ant-Man Cassie Lang and Kate Bishop, who went by Hawkeye and whom you can learn more about in our Batgirl vs. Hawkeye episode. Together, they formed the Young Avengers. Eli went by Patriot and donned a double-breasted jacket modeled after what Bucky wore in World War II as Captain America's sidekick, and he armed himself with star-shaped throwing blades and with Cap's old triangle-shaped shield. To hide the fact that he didn't have powers from the rest of the team, Eli began using mutant growth hormone, which is a drug derived from a serum created by Beast of the X-Men to enhance people's abilities and give them powers, which you can learn more about in our Beast Boy vs. Beast episode.
Oh, is that like a steroid, like human growth hormone?
Yes, exactly. The Young Avengers later discovered Eli's secret drug use, and he quit the team for a time. He eventually rejoined when Hulkling was captured by the Super Skrull and nearly died in a fight against the Skrulls when he used his body to shield Captain America from gunfire. Eli awoke in a hospital to find out that his grandfather, Isaiah Bradley, had given Eli his blood in a transfusion to keep him alive. Eli now had true super soldier abilities.
Oh.
During the Superhuman Civil War, Eli and the Young Avengers sided with Captain America against Iron Man and the Superhuman Registration Act, and fought alongside the Avengers against the Skrull's secret invasion of Earth. For a time, Eli and teammate Kate Bishop shared romantic feelings for each other. After helping prevent Norman Osborn's attempted siege of Asgard, Eli and the Young Avengers located the amnesiac Scarlet Witch, who had her mind manipulated with and powers stolen by Dr. Doom. The Young Avengers fought Doom, though not without heavy loss, as Doom killed Cassie Lang in the battle. However, in the course of events, Scarlet Witch learned that the Young Avengers members Wiccan and Speed were the reincarnated souls of the twins that she had with Vision, which you can learn more about in our Zatanna vs. Scarlet Witch episode. Nevertheless, the loss of Cassie led to Eli quitting the team and working as a volunteer. A new Patriot named Rayshon Lucas has since come onto the scene after being inspired by Sam Wilson as Captain America. However, I suspect that with Eli's super soldier powers and strong ties to the legacy of Isaiah Bradley, it's only a matter of time before he picks up the shield again. I should also add the footnote that Eli is actually the second Marvel hero to go by Patriot. The first was a Golden Age hero named Jeffrey Mace, who was inspired by Captain America and took up Steve's mantle after his disappearance near the end of World War II. Eli's natural gifts include the super soldier serum granted to him by his grandfather. This increases his physical capacity to its full potential, giving him increased strength, speed, agility, reflexes, stamina, durability, healing, immunity, mental processing, etc. He's an experienced combatant from his time with the Young Avengers and carries 5 pointed throwing stars and a replica of Captain America's original triangle-shaped shield. And that's Patriot.
I don't get why Marvel would create a new Patriot when they have like a perfectly good one.
I wonder the same exact thing, honestly. I don't know why Rayshon Lucas exists, I guess, when you have Eli Bradley. Rayshon Lucas, who kind of stemmed out of the Black Lives Matter movement. He was kind of like the hero that came from that. For some reason, they didn't think that Eli could fill that role, although I'm not quite sure why. Eli is by far the better Patriot.
There's a lot of people who argue that Damian is the best Robin. I don't know if I agree with them, but after going through his backstory and learning more about him, I would say he's definitely in the top 3 of 5 that have existed. Let me get into his backstory. Now, if you listened to our Daughters of the Demon versus Daughters of the Dragon episode, you'll remember that Batman once unwittingly married Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, when he was drugged and essentially raped by Talia, consummating their marriage.
Dang.
Talia became pregnant but faked a miscarriage when Batman nearly died protecting her from assassins. With their marriage dissolved due to the miscarriage, Batman returns to Gotham while Talia, at the behest of her father Ross, had the embryo placed in an artificial womb where they could monitor it and engineer maximum genetic perfection. Ross intended for the child to not only one day kill and replace his father Batman, but also serve as the future host body for Ross himself. You can learn more about Ra's al Ghul in our previous episode, Ra's al Ghul vs. Red Skull. Trained from birth by the League of Assassins to be a master of stealth and martial arts, Damian first traveled to Gotham at age 7 with his mother Talia to spy on his father, Batman, and learn everything about him. It was during this time that Damian first learned of Robin, Batman's sidekick, a role he felt belonged to him by birthright. It was around this time that Bruce Wayne officially adopted Tim Drake, the third Robin, stirring up an intense jealousy within Damian. You can learn more about Tim Drake in our Drake vs. Winter Soldier episode. Damian surprised his father a year later when Talia sent him to live in Batman's custody. Talia, who by this time was the head of the League of Assassins, intended on distracting and occupying Batman while she attempted to take over England with an army of Man-Bat ninjas. Damian proved to be an entitled, rash, and violent brat who sucker-punched Tim in their first meeting. Grounded for his behavior, Damian nevertheless escaped from Wayne Manor with stolen Robin gear, and, in an effort to prove himself to Batman, got into a fight with the villain Spook, whom Damian soon decapitated, bringing the head back to the Batcave as a trophy.
Oh my god.
When Damian was confronted by Tim, Damian tried to kill him. Although Batman was not yet convinced Damian was his son, he recognized that because of Damian's upbringing by the League, he was socially inept and merely sought his father's approval by eliminating his rivals, including Tim. Though it was difficult for Damian to understand his father's moral code that avoided killing, Damian genuinely wanted to help his father's war on crime, and was repentant for his actions, offering up his mother Talia's location as penance. Batman confronted Talia with Damon and learned of Damian's origins, as well as Talia's fear for her son's future within the League. Talia and Damian were soon caught in an explosion. Both survived, but Damian was severely injured and needed harvested organs to survive, which the League of Assassins provided. Damian eventually recovered thanks to extensive care provided by the League, after which Damian learned he was the intended vessel for Ra's al Ghul's resurrected soul, the process for which would kill him. Talia saved Damian at the last minute during the ritual to resurrect her father, and Damian fled back to Gotham City to warn his father Batman of Ra's return as a zombified corpse. Damian and Tim helped fend off the League of Assassins within the Batcave, though both were eventually captured by Ross, who made Batman choose which one Ross would use for his new host body. Batman eventually defeated Ross, and Damian chose to stay with his father, abandoning the League. Not long after, Batman seemingly died during the events of Final Crisis, and Dick Grayson, the original Robin, who you can learn more about in our Nightwing vs. Daredevil episode, took up Batman's mantle and made Damian his Robin. Dick was able to subdue Damian's violent impulses over time, and Damian began looking up to Nightwing as a big brother. During one of their adventures, Dick and Damian captured the Joker, whom Damian tied to a chair and beat with a crowbar, as he knew the Joker did to the second Robin, Jason Todd, before Jason's death. You can learn more about Jason in our Red Hood vs. Punisher episode. The Joker's pain and helplessness from Damian's beating was a ruse, however, and he was able to gas Damian with Joker venom. Help arrived in the form of the newly resurrected Bruce Wayne, who approved of Damian as Robin. The post-Flashpoint reboot of continuity didn't do much to change Damian's backstory. He continued as Robin, though his League programming and murderous impulse returned and had to be quelled by his father, who was once again Batman. Talia, upset over her son's chosen allegiance, created a fully grown clone of him named Heretic, and put a $500 million bounty on Damian's head. To protect him, Batman faked Damian's death, and for a time, Damian fought under the identity Redbird alongside Jason Todd, who went by the name Wingman during his time as a member of Batman Incorporated. Eventually, Talia took over Gotham City with a splinter group of the League of Assassins known as Leviathan, and Damian returned as Robin to stop his mother, only to be stabbed through the chest and killed in a sword fight against Heretic. Damian was buried in the Wayne family cemetery, though it wasn't long before Ra's al Ghul stole his remains and hid within them a powerful crystal known as a Chaos Shard that once belonged to Darkseid. Damian's body was kidnapped again by Darkseid's minions and brought to Apokolips, where Batman rescued him before using the Chaos Shard to resurrect his son instead of his parents, Thomas and Martha. You can learn more about them in our Batman vs. Moon Knight episode. In the Rebirth era of DC Comics, Damian has assumed leadership of the Teen Titans and has become close friends with Superman's son, the superpowered Jonathan Kent. Though Damian has no superpowers, he is, despite his age, one of the most lethal and formidable fighters in DC Comics, having trained under both the League of Assassins from birth and later by Batman. Damian has a gifted mind like his father, and he's at peak physical perfection for his age. He's an agile gymnast, and of all the Robins, he's the foremost master of stealth. He's also a master with weaponry, especially ninja weaponry such as daggers, shuriken, smoke bombs, and most notably, his sword. Now, he hasn't used a sword in the comics for a while, but it has been used in some of his more well-known story moments, and it's become such an iconic weapon of the character that he's frequently seen with it in video games and animated films featuring him. So he's bringing it to his match against Patriot. So good luck.
A shield blocks a sword, so what kind of sword is it? Is it like a katana or a broadsword?
It's an Asian-style straight sword.
So about how old would you say Damian is in the comics currently?
Currently, he's about 13.
Because I would say Eli is about 18 to 20 years old in the comics.
Damian has no trouble defeating 18 to 20-year-olds.
We'll see about that. All right, now that we've gone into the histories and abilities of each of these characters, what Jonathan and I like to do is kind of improvise a scenario, playing out beat for beat how we think one of these 1,000 matches that we're going to run actually plays out. We don't set any rules for this particular matchup, save for the fact that the characters don't know anything about each other when they first meet each other on the battlefield. They start off about 50 yards apart from each other, and the environment that they fight in plays no bearing on the match itself. So it's almost like a neutral, blank environment, because we don't take stats for the environment, and we don't want the environment to give any sort of advantage to either of the characters. They have to win on their own merits, because who's to say where this matchup would actually take place?
Right, so these two characters start about 50 yards apart on the battlefield. Who goes first? I think Damian would go first, because he's pretty arrogant and brash, and he would just not hesitate.
Okay, all right, that works for me.
He starts off charging Patriot, unleashing a volley of batarangs as he unsheaths his sword.
Okay, so Eli raises up his shield and blocks all of those batarangs coming toward him. They just bounce off his shield. And as Damian's running towards him, Eli counters with his very own throwing stars, those 5-pointed ones.
Except when Eli went to throw them, he realizes that Damian is no longer there. When he lifted up his shield to block the batarangs, he lost sight of Damian.
Okay.
So Patriot is looking around for him. Meanwhile, Damian sneaks up behind Patriot and stabs him through the torso with his sword.
Well, no, because I think you're selling Patriot's enhanced hearing and reflexes short. So yeah, he gets stabbed by Damian, but he has enough reaction speed to dodge the attack enough so that the blow isn't fatal. And the sword instead just slices part of Patriot's shoulder. Eli spins around real quick and just whacks Damian right in the side of his face with his shield, knocking Robin backward and forcing him to drop his sword onto the ground. At which point, Patriot picks it up, so now he has a sword and a shield.
Okay, I could see Damian getting hit with the shield. I mean, it has enough area to it. It's big enough where it'd be difficult for him to dodge. But that's fine that Patriot has his sword. Damian just goes into a defensive stance, just waiting for Patriot to make a move with the sword.
Oh, he's going to. He leaps like high into the air, like a story high, and then comes down with a sword slash.
Which Damian dodges because he telegraphed the hell out of that slash.
Damn it. But Patriot makes another slash sideways and gets Robin right in his arm.
Actually, he only got Damian's cape because Damian ducked below the blade in time to dodge it. And he follows up by a sweep to Patriot's legs. So now Patriot's on the ground. That's when Robin does like a forward handspring, grabbing the sword out of Patriot's hands and placing a sticky bomb on his shield. By the time he finishes his forward handspring, he has his sword, and there's this badass explosion that goes off behind him.
Except that explosion is like right behind him because Patriot heard the beeping explosive sticky bomb that was stuck to his shield, and he hurled the shield backward right in Robin's general direction. So the bomb goes off and sends Robin just flying right onto his face.
Okay, so Robin's probably on the ground recovering for a bit.
Meanwhile, Patriot leaps to his feet, does his own front handspring while leaping toward the downed Robin, picking up his shield along the way, and with both hands jams his shield into Robin's neck while he's on the ground to pin him there.
Okay, but Robin had a chance to roll over from his stomach and see Patriot approaching, so at the last minute, he grabs the shield before it reaches his neck, so now they're just in a power struggle with the shield.
Patriot is way stronger than Robin.
Okay, but Robin knows how to use momentum and leverage against people, so Patriot may have more strength, but Robin just uses that momentum to slide the shield above his head, and Patriot sticks the shield into the ground instead, and Robin kicks Patriot over the shield behind him, getting back on his feet. And knowing Damien, he's probably going to try and pull the shield out of the ground and use it for himself.
Yeah, but I'm going to say that he's not quite strong enough to, because it's probably lodged in there pretty good. But good try. All right, so Patriot lands on his back, and he flips over and gets onto his knees, and from there, he hurls more of his 5-pointed throwing stars.
Okay, but Robin dives behind the shield, using it as cover against the 5-pointed stars.
Yeah, good move, using it while it's still stuck on the ground there, yeah.
At which point, he lobs a tear gas grenade in the direction of Patriot.
All right, so Patriot gets a small whiff of this tear gas, and he starts feeling the effects, so he holds his breath so that he won't succumb to more of the effects. But he's struggling a little bit as he runs over to his shield. And he pulls it and yanks it out of the ground and sees Damien just sitting there.
And that's when Damien pulls out a detonator, because as he was hiding behind the shield, he put on a sticky electric charge on it. So when he pushes the detonator, Patriot gets electrocuted.
Oh, shit. Good move. Okay, so yeah, Patriot just got tear gassed and he got electrocuted.
And that's when Damien kicks him in the balls, real hard.
Jeez, tear gassed, electrocuted, and kicked in the nuts? That's a pretty dang good 3-hit combo right there.
Yeah, it is.
So Patriot's stunned and sick and, feeling kind of like his balls are in his throat and he's gonna barf. And he's just pissed. He sees the smirking little kid standing in front of him, and in the speed of a bullet, he hurls his triangle-shaped shield point blank at Robin, and the point slams right into Damien's torso, probably breaking a few ribs and knocking the wind out of him, sending him flying backwards. Patriot then presses his attack as quickly as is possible for him, given the circumstances, and he pounces on top of Robin, holding him there, and starts punching him in the face, super soldier style, until Robin is concussed, ending the match. Because, we don't want to kill the kid.
Okay, but Damien's not against killing. So as he's getting punched in the face, that's when he pulls a ninja dagger out of his glove and just lodges it right in Patriot's liver, ending the match.
Oh, shit. Well, I say that Robin blacks out long before he's even able to stab Patriot.
And I say that Robin's league training has taught him how to take a punch or two, and he'll act fast enough.
All right, if you say so, let's go ahead and run the stats and find out how this match would actually turn out. We'll be right back, guys, with the winner.
Okay, that was a fun match.
Yeah, I really like the character of Patriot. I really like how he uses Cap's old shield, and I really like those throwing stars.
What do you think of Damien?
Damien's just a dork. Who cares about him?
Wow. I definitely
shit.
understand why a lot of people, again, like him after doing my research, and I had a lot of fun with this matchup.
Yeah, it was a good matchup going off of the stats. Physically, they were fairly comparable, despite the fact that Robin is a little bit younger. He's still very much ahead of his game. So in terms of speed, we said they were pretty close to comparable. Strength, we gave to Patriot because no matter how many push-ups a 13-year-old kid is going to do, he's not going to be able to lift as much as a super soldier.
Although Damien is a better fighter.
Yeah, he's on the same level as Cassandra Cain. Maybe not in the way that she reads body language, but just as skilled of a fighter.
Yeah, he's definitely, again, one of the best in DC. We said they were comparable in terms of damage level, range, but we said that Patriot had an edge on evasiveness because of his shield, right? We define evasiveness as the ability to avoid injury.
And lastly, when it came to intelligence, we gave the edge to Robin, just because Damien is just a sneaky little bastard that has a bunch of strategic tricks up his sleeve. He kind of plays dirty.
Right, Robin has been known to trick Batman, of all people. And though he's a little brash, he's definitely wise beyond his years.
Yeah, he has a lot of street smarts.
And book smarts. He knows a ton of stuff. He's actually disguised himself as a substitute teacher for Jonathan Kent's school and taught them geography.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's a cool character. But who won the fight? Now, according to Instagram, 88% of you guys who took our poll thought that Robin would win, which means that only 12% of you are smart.
What? No. Yeah, they're reversed, my friend.
Well, tell me who you think won, Jonathan.
I'm pretty confident that Robin would win this match. I think he's just much more lethal than Patriot. He's much better trained. He's just better or equal to Patriot in every way except for strength and that shield. And I don't think those are enough for Patriot to take the match.
Well, let's see. Out of 1,000 matches, the winner of the Robin versus Patriot fight is... Robin. You're right.
Yep.
Out of the 1,000 fights, Robin won 556 matches, whereas Patriot only won 444. In the end, Robin's fighting skill was just too much for Patriot to overcome, despite the fact that Patriot was stronger with the Super Soldier Serum.
I think this is a good indicator of who would win between Batman and Captain America as well.
No, I don't think so at all. No, because Captain America is at least as equal a fighter as Batman.
That's so dumb. That never made any sense to me.
No, but he's trained all over the world, just like Batman.
I don't know.
Yeah, this match is not indicative of who would win between Batman and Captain America, because we all know that Captain America would beat Batman.
What? We don't know that.
So take this as a nice consolation for yourself that Robin beat Patriot.
Someday we'll do that match, by the way. Someday we'll reuse characters that have been in prior duels. But for now, there's still a lot of other characters within DC and Marvel that we haven't gotten to yet, and that we want to see used in a matchup.
Right, exactly. One day, Captain America will avenge Patriot, though. So look forward to that, listeners. That does it for this matchup. Go ahead and let us know what you thought about it by reaching out to us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or you can email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. You can find links to all of our social media profiles on our website, dynamicduel.com, where you can also find links to bonus content that we produce each month.
You'll also find a link to our merchandise store, which is on TeePublic, which now sells face masks, which all of us need to be out in public. Now, you can get face masks of the No Prize artwork that we make for each episode, but we also created original artwork specifically for the face masks of the Joker's grin, of Venom's mouth. There's Spider-Man, Iron Man, Batman, Harley Quinn, Rorschach from The Watchmen, and Swamp Thing, and Black Panther, and the Hulk. There's a lot to choose from. We had a lot of fun making them. If you guys need face masks, definitely check out our shop.
Yeah, usually these masks sell out by mid-afternoon, so if you want the masks, be sure to get them as soon as possible in the morning.
And for each mask that's sold, another medical-grade mask is donated to Direct Relief Charity.
So yeah, support the podcast, support a good cause, guys. Again, visit us on dynamicduel.com, click the merchandise link, and you'll find the face masks there.
In our next episode, as we mentioned earlier, we will be reviewing the animated film Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, which will close out the DC animated movie universe.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit bittersweet, but the movie looks like it's going to be absolutely epic, so I'm really looking forward to reviewing it.
Part of me really wishes I've seen all of these animated films because I haven't yet. To me, I kind of feel like I'm going to be watching Endgame without seeing all of the previous MCU films.
You would be so lucky to have an experience like Endgame.
You don't know. You don't know how good this movie is.
We'll find out next week and let you guys know. Please, guys, don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review our show, especially if you listen to us on Stitcher, Podbean, or CastBox. We want to give a big shout out to our executive producers, John Spees and Jace Crump.
And that does it for this episode. Talk to you guys next week. Up, and away.
True believers.